Well, as we were talking about, for a guy who became famous on his old fake reality game show for firing people in front of the camera, as president, Donald Trump seems to be more comfortable firing people late on a Friday night when a lot of people have stopped paying attention to the news. So tonight, just before 8 p.m. here on the East Coast, Donald Trump announced he was firing Air Force General C.Q. Brown, who was serving as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The Associated Press notes the ouster of Brown, only the second black general to serve as chairman, is sure to send shockwaves through the Pentagon. His 16 months on the job had been consumed with the war in Ukraine and the expanded conflict in the Middle East. Trump is nominating the Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Kane, they call him Raisin Kane, to be the next Joint Chiefs chairman. Kane is a career F-16 pilot who served on active duty in the National Guard. A Pentagon official tells NBC News that Trump didn't do the firing himself. The Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called Brown on Friday evening to inform him of the decision shortly before Trump posted it on social media. And this week has been full of this kind of chaos, including this afternoon at the White House when Donald Trump was told, quote, "We'll see you in court." Now, I'm sure he's heard those exact words said to his face during his time as businessman Donald Trump. But think of it. The president of the United States told by someone inside the White House, "We'll see you in court." The person who told him that was Maine's Democratic governor, this woman, Janet Mills, who said those words directly to him today. "We'll see you in court." Now, in his first month of his second term in office, Donald Trump has signed 73 executive orders, including an executive order banning transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports. This afternoon, in the state dining room in the White House, Donald Trump discussed that very executive order with a group of Republican and Democratic governors until he paused to call out Governor Mills.
Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
I'm here.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal law.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Wow. Emboldened by kowtowed Republicans in Congress and a very friendly conservative Supreme Court majority, Donald Trump is shameless in his threats to withhold funding from other elected officials. And while Donald Trump's executive orders have faced lawsuits, Donald Trump is as brazen as ever in his attempts to ignore the rule of law. In an article titled Trump's First Month, a relentless effort to remake the presidency, the Washington Post reports, quote, Trump's first month is striking, not just because of the president's actions, but also because a significant number of Americans and members of Congress are applauding his aggressive approach to the job. The country appears to be in a dark mood, with some voters' hunger for disruption outweighing their impulse to follow American traditions. What makes this moment particularly dangerous for those who care about our constitutional system is that Donald Trump believes he has a mandate to act this way, said Timothy Naftali, a historian at Columbia University School for International and Public Affairs, end quote. The Washington Post continues, quote, Trump's unconventional actions have been numerous and varied, but they all reflect his belief that Congress has no business telling him how to run the executive branch. He said about slashing the federal workforce with little regard to the myriad laws aimed at protecting it, end quote. Donald Trump addressed another one of those unconventional actions today. As first reported at this hour last night, Donald Trump is considering placing the United States Postal Service, a 250-year-old independent agency, under the control of the Commerce Department. This morning, the White House denied that report. And then this happened.
There are reports that you were considering merging the United States Postal Service with the Commerce Department. Can you elaborate on if this is something you're considering?
Well, we want to have a post office that works well and doesn't lose massive amounts of money. And we're thinking about doing that, and it'll be a form of a merger.
Now, his critics warn that this could be the first step toward privatizing the Postal Service, something Trump has talked a lot about before. And Trump has repeatedly attacked voting by mail, which raises a lot of other questions. Robert Dallek, an American historian who specializes in U.S. presidents, told the Washington Post that Trump's self-centered qualities are not what make him different from his predecessors. That is a characteristic common to presidential aspirants. Where Trump differs, he said, is in his determination to bend the government to that view of himself. Everyone who runs for president has impulses to be the central figure in the country, the central political figure, and a star. So they have to be driven by a kind of egotism, it seems to me, Dallek said. What sets Trump apart is how far he may be willing to go in centralizing authority. Does he know the limits of his power? End quote. Does he know the limits of his power? And do the billionaires who surround him know the limits of their power? Donald Trump was surrounded by some of the world's wealthiest people at his inauguration, days after former President Biden warned of an oligarchy taking shape in America. So are we witnessing the rise of oligarchy in the United States? The former Labor Secretary Robert Reich seems to think so in an article written for The Guardian after Donald Trump lied about Ukraine being responsible for Russia's invasion and J.D. Vance criticized European leaders in his Munich speech. Robert Reich wrote, quote, "Since the end of the Second World War, liberal democracies have stuck together. Led by the U.S., on the opposite side have been the authoritarian states, led mainly by the Soviet Union, followed after the demise of the Soviet Union by Russia and China. But all this is rapidly changing. Russia and China have morphed into oligarchies run by small groups of extraordinarily wealthy people. The U.S. has been moving from a democracy to an oligarchy as well, and is doing so at lightning speed under Donald Trump and Elon Musk. The Trump-Vance-Musk regime is not only undermining democracy in the U.S., it's also laying the foundation for undermining democracies around the world. It is making the world safe for oligarchy.